What makes our country great is the individual. This isn't yes, we can. It's yes, you can. If made free to pursue your dreams, you will succeed, and you will make the world a better place. For too long, we've been made to feel that if we do what's best for ourselves and our families, we can't do what's best for the country. The truth is precisely the opposite. Freedom to act in accordance with traditional American values on behalf of those we love is the essence of America's greatness. That greatness doesn't come from building the Hoover Dam or the National Highway System. It comes from us, sitting with our families around the dinner table, enjoying the fruits of our labors, celebrating the future of our children. And that future will be bright, so long as we regain the confidence in ourselves that has always made America a light unto the nations. They say it's always darkest just before the dawn. Sometimes that isn't true. Sometimes it's darkest just before it goes pitch black. It's up to us whether we choose to bring the dawn or the darkness. Choose the dawn. The sun of American greatness lurks beyond the horizon. All we have to do is turn around to see it. I'm 32. I'm 32 years old. Okay, I have a 2-year-old. I've been busy in the last couple of years since I was last here. I have a 2-year-old and I have a 2-month-old. Those generations are only going to be protected if we revivify our movement, if we come together around those values, and if we learn who our enemies are, and if we fight them every single step of the way, never giving an inch, and if we never stop fighting. We can't get tired. If we do, they win. We can't let them have a few victories. They exploit every single victory and then push on to the next victory. The left is a ceaseless, heedless monstrosity. It's our job to hold that wall. Here's the thing, though. I think true conservatives know that. Ronald Reagan always said this. He always said freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. And that's exactly right. But to avoid extinction, we have to grow, we have to evolve, we have to get stronger, we have to get tougher. We have to rededicate ourselves to the principle, we have to rededicate ourselves to the fight. And that's hard work. And that's our mission. We're an empire of liberty. We're a nation conceived in freedom. Our mission is to carry that freedom forward in the face of all odds, and that mission doesn't change. That mission is eternal. And that mission calls to us from the end of history. It's God's mission. It's the founder's mission. It's a mission that has to be fulfilled at all costs. The mission calls us forward. It urges us forward. The heroes of days past, Washington and Adams and Jefferson and Lincoln and Reagan, our fathers, our mothers, our ancestors, who fought to bring us to these shores and then make these shores free and give their kids a chance, they're cheering us on. They are. They are. I believe in an afterlife, and they're cheering us on, begging us to stumble forward because nobody else is going to carry the torch. The left's going to try to rip that torch away. They're going to try and drown it in the mud of political correctness, of collectivism, of government tyranny, and it's up to us. So let's take up the torch, passed down to us over 2,000 generations. Let's take it up with joy in our heart and strength in our grip and a warning in our eyes. Do not, for the love of God, cross us. We're the guardians of limited government and individual liberty. We're the guardians of Judeo-Christian Western civilization. There's no one else left. We're the last line of defense. We stand together, and we must never, ever, and we will not ever, ever stop fighting. Thanks so much.
Piece has some very interesting insights. He's an Occupy Wall Street guy for millennials like you. He thinks, among other things, that there should be guaranteed work in this country for everyone. He thinks that everything should be owned by everyone. We need a sovereign wealth fund that is basically just a big investment fund that buys up from the private sector and then pays out to the rest of America. He wants a public bank in every state. And here's my favorite one. He wants Social Security for everybody. And this is a quote. As much as unemployment blows, so do jobs. What if people didn't have to work to survive? Is this a joke?
No, I mean, it isn't. This is actually how a lot of millennials think, and this is how the Occupy Wall Street movement thinks. This is a group of people who graduated with degrees in lesbian dance theory and then were surprised when they didn't get a 6-figure paycheck out of college. I mean, this is, unfortunately, they were getting a paycheck consummate with their education level. The problem is that if you have to be productive in a capitalist society in order to earn anything. And this is, unfortunately, a lazy generation, a generation that expects things. And ignorant and communist is no way to go through life.
Eli, Wilmington, North Carolina. Please go ahead, Eli.
Actually, it's Ellie, a different gender.
Ellie, I am so... do you know what?
No
I'm reading
problem.
off an iPad, and that's exactly what it says. I apologize.
No problem at all. I don't want to use my time correcting that. Obviously, the gentleman, I don't want to promote his name, actually. is quite intelligent. It's unfortunate that he kind of misuses it. I am Jewish, and I have to so strongly object to his trying to portray his own misguided attempts at politics and talking fast. Not all Jews talk fast, and promoting stereotypes. Number one, he does a great disservice to the Jewish people all over the world by promoting his stereotypes, and he's laughing at it, which I find I hold what he's doing in disdain. I just came from a wonderful Jewish film festival here in Wilmington and saw the film The Jewish Cardinal. And this man and the Catholic Polish clerics did far more when they smartened up and had a little more compassion for people than this guy has. And as far as how he treats
Tell
people,
you what, Ellie, politically, Ellie, do you disagree with Ben Shapiro when it comes to his politics as well?
I'm sorry?
Do you disagree with Ben Shapiro when it comes to his politics as well as some of the things you've already mentioned?
I do disagree with him with some of his politics quite a lot, but it's a separate issue to promote some stereotypes against the Jewish people and using his Jewishness
Terrific.
to sell his...
Let's get a response. That was Ellie in Wilmington, North Carolina. Ben Shapiro.
Well, I really didn't realize that the Grim Reaper of the sense of humor was on the loose today. I mean, seriously. I mean, if the worst stereotype about Jews is that we speak quickly, I think we can deal with that. Really, that one ranks real low on the list of stereotypes I'm going to worry deeply about. I'm going to worry significantly more about a president of the United States who's going to promote a nuclear bomb in Iran, and a president of the United States who has routinely leaked Israeli national security information, and a Democratic Party that's gone along with him, and a Republican Party that basically just signed off on it in the Senate. I'm going to worry more about that and less about whether Jews talk quickly. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about the precedent in California for a second. In California, there are 30,000 mentally ill people who have guns. They have a grand total of 33 people, really, in the state of California who are tasked with taking these 30,000 guns away from these 30,000 mentally ill people. Okay, we're creating a system that is either not going to be enforced or it's going to be over-enforced. This idea, if we can just trust the government, then why aren't we just trusting the government to do the right thing now? I don't understand why a piece of legislation makes them better at what they do. I mean, the government is not very good at what they're doing now. Why does new wording make them not suck?
Because part of the reason...
Judge, and say whether or not he should be considered someone who is a hero and inspirational to other young men out there.
Well, here's actually the problem that I have. I think that you can accept and tolerate people's behavior, and that demonstrates non-homophobia. I think that it is ridiculous to suggest that just because you're not celebrating, on the cover of Sports Illustrated, somebody coming out of the closet, and you think, it's relatively unimportant in the grand scheme of things because people should be able to live their lives the way that they want. I don't really understand. There were folks who were saying that that was a homophobic tweet, and I'm still confused as to how it's homophobic simply to say that you don't think it's a heroic move in today's America to come out of the closet the same way that it was maybe 20 years ago.
Jared.
Do you think it's easier, let me ask you this way. I don't think it's a man or a woman. Do you think that there's sexism in America?
I think there's sexism in America, sure.
No, is there sexism?
If there are sexists who perform sexist acts, then there's
No, that's not America. I'm asking.
If you're asking, is America structurally sexist? The answer is no.
Women are underrepresented in boardrooms, women are underrepresented in Congress, women are underrepresented in 270 years of the White House because...
Okay, so I'm not saying there wasn't historic sexism as far as the White House.
Was that like that?
It has faded away gradually to the point where women are now... This is how change happens.
It has not.
The fact is that when it comes to college admissions, for example, there are more women than men going to college.
That's correct.
When it comes to graduate schools, there are more women than men going to graduate schools. Okay, when it comes to jail, which you just cited, the vast, well over 90% of the people in jail are men. Is that because the system is sexist against men? Jailing system is now sexist against men because there are more men than women in prison? That's really your argument?
No, it does have to also be the case that more men commit crimes.
There you go.
most dealers are good. Gun dealers are good. Let me finish. But the NRA has all but neutered the ATF. All but neutered, and there are, well, we haven't had an ATF director for the last 10 years. We haven't had an ATF director for the last 10 years because the NRA won't even allow us to have a Surgeon General because the guy wanted common sense gun control.
Well, the ATF is a little bit busy smuggling guns south of the border to the drug cartels.
The other reason is that in order to become a professor, you do have to go through a certain process, and that process is run by liberals. So if you have tenured professors deciding who's to become a professor, if they're the ones who are reading the papers that professors have to write in order to become professors, if they're doing the hiring, then they're going to be biased in a certain way. Now, it may not be conscious. I think that probably they would think of themselves as relatively unbiased when it comes to figuring out who's a good teacher and who's not. But the problem is that a lot of professors, because they're an ivory tower, they don't even recognize that the other perspective has validity. And that being the case, they really believe that what they're saying is pure fact. So anything else must necessarily be falsehood, and there's no reason to give falsehood a place in the classroom.
If their employees all thought that God's will was the same thing that the owners of Hobby Lobby think God's will is, there wouldn't be an issue here, would they? Because they could give the insurance, whatever insurance, and they could rest assured that their employees would choose like they would.
The question in Hobby Lobby is whose freedom is being infringed upon. Employees' freedom is not infringed upon when they enter into a consensual relationship with an employer that includes certain types of health care.
Not consensual.
Of course it is. They can quit. Who is forcing them? Where is the gun? Where is the gun? Who is forcing them? Where is the chain? Who is locking them to their desk?
Stop with the gun language.
The reason that I use the gun language is because it is vitally important for people to understand that every government measure at the end of the day it must be compelled by force. That's what government measures are for. There is a vast difference, a huge difference in terms of personal liberty and freedom between the government compelling behavior and a company saying that we are not going to provide certain types of coverage, and if you don't like that, you can quit or buy your own coverage. There's a vast difference. The gun's the whole issue.
Health insurance is an earned benefit. It's not given for free to employees. They earn it. Should your employer be able to decide how you spend your money?
Hold up. Hold on. 1 second. Earned from whom? Okay, I may think that I earn twice the salary that I get from this radio station. That doesn't mean that I have an earned benefit from the radio station for twice what they're willing to pay me. It's always a consensual relationship.
You pay for your health care.
Well, first of all, I do because it was negotiated in the contract that I signed, in which I voluntarily engaged. And if I don't like that, I can quit tomorrow.
Shapiro, from your newest book, Bullies, you write, President Obama was elected at least in part because he was black. It was a positive for him. Many Americans believed that America needed to elect its first black president to move beyond issues of race once and for all. Instead, they got a champion race bully masquerading as a racial unifier. What do you mean?
What I mean by that is that President Obama came into office on this great wave of American approval, this idea that he was going to unify the country along racial lines. Instead, what's happened is that the president has really suggested in multiple ways that not only the continuation of American racism, but that is one of the most serious problems still facing the country. We've seen it in everything, manifest in everything from the George Zimmerman trial to the continued focus on voter ID, the attempt by the Obama administration to paint voter ID as a racist thing as opposed to an attempt to quash voter fraud. The questioning the motivations of the American people, or at least his opponents, is something that President Obama likes to do on a pretty frequent basis, and it pays tremendous dividends. And the only sector of the racial population that showed up in larger numbers than the previous election cycle in 2012 was the black community. They showed up in numbers far outweighing their proportion in the population, which is great. I mean, it's wonderful they showed up. Unfortunately, a lot of folks showed up because they were convinced that by voting for President Obama, they were stopping a great racist tide that had kind of swum up to the surface against President Obama, as opposed to just people who opposed him politically.
So when you hear the term...
Explain. Who are the bullies?
The bullies in America are the left, and internationally they're the left as well. But what the left has done in the United States is something very clever. They've suggested that they are the people who stand up for all of the various victim groups in the United States, and then by necessity, everybody who opposes them is therefore opposed to victims, and they're the real thugs, and they shouldn't even be part of the conversation.
That's why whenever you see Democrats out there, they're always talking about how Republicans have nefarious and evil motives, right? They're racists, they're sexists, they're homophobes, they are only standing up for the rich, they hate the poor. That's the kind of way that the Democrats achieve their goal. Liberals in the United States don't want to have a conversation. They simply want to remove conservatives from kind of the legitimate mainstream political conversation so that they don't have to discuss what's the best policy for the most Americans.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm rocking the baby back and forth, and I find myself tearing up. And the reason that I'm tearing up is because it's occurring to me for the first time, like it does for a lot of new parents, I would imagine, for the first time, which is there's going to come a point where my baby is crying and I'm not going to be there. Right? There will be a point where, sometime, God willing, 90 years down the road, there's a problem in her life and I'm not going to be there to solve it. And she has to have the freedom and the capacity to solve the problem for herself. Evil enervates us. Evil takes that power away from us. It takes away our ability, our will. It saps us of our God-given capacity to solve problems on our own and to make the world a better place and to rock our children to sleep at night, because after all, that's not our job. That it takes a village. Freedom is about the future. It's about what we want to give our kids. And our job is to fight collectivist evil. It's to fight collectivism. Yes, freedom succeeds and freedom wins, but only if we fight. Don't be afraid, though. The nice thing about the Ten Commandments, there's a whole bunch of books that come along with it. And we learn in one of them, in Isaiah 8:10, God is with us. Isaiah writes, devise your strategy, but it will be thwarted. Propose your plan, but it will not stand, for God is with us. And God is with us. He is with us, and God will be with us for so long as we forge forth to fight for the freedom that he granted us. Thanks so much.